The writing process involves such matters as how writers gather information, how they transform their ideas into written form, and how they organize and revise what they've written to make it relevant for their audience. To be a successful writer, you need to identify your audience needs, determine your purpose in writing to the audience, make sure that your message meets your audience needs, use the most appropriate style and tone for your message, and format your work so that it clearly reflects your message to your audience. As you begin your study of writing for the world of work, it might be helpful to identify some notions about what writing is and what writing is not. What business writing is all about. Let's take a look. The writing process is dynamic. It's not static. It enables you to discover and to evaluate your thoughts as you draft and revise. A piece of writing changes as your thoughts and information change and as you view the material changes as well. Writing takes time. Some people think that revising and polishing are too time-consuming, but poor writing actually takes more time and costs more money in the end. It can lead to misunderstanding, lost sales, product recalls, and even damage your reputation and your organization. Writing means making a number of judgment calls. Writing grows sometimes in bits and pieces and sometimes in great spurts. It may need many revisions, and an early draft is never the final copy. So let's take a look at what writing is not in the world of business. Writing is not a mysterious process known only by a few. Even if you have not done much formal writing before, you can learn to do it effectively. Writing is not simply following a magical formula. Successful writing requires hard work and thought-provoking effort, and simply following a formula as if you were painting by numbers doesn't necessarily work. Writing does not proceed in some predictable way, in which introductions are always written first and conclusions last. Writing is not completed in a first attempt. Just because you put something down on paper or a computer screen doesn't mean that it's unchangeable. Writing means rewriting, revising, and rethinking. The better a piece of writing is, the more the writer has reworked it. The writing process that we've just described is something that's fluid, not static. Think of it as a back and forth process rather than following a formula. To do this, then you do that. The writing process is something fluid, not static. Think of it as a back and forth process rather than following a formula. Do this, then do that. Before you start to compose any email, memo, letter, report, proposal, or website, you'll need to do research. Research is critical because it enables you to obtain the right information for your audience. The world of work is based on conveying correct and relevant information, the logical presentation and sensible interpretation of fact. Depending on the length and scope of your written work and on your audience's needs, your research may include the following: interviewing people inside and outside your organization, collaborating in person by email or by messaging, doing internet searches, reading current periodicals, journals, reports, and other documents, and visiting a worksite. At the planning stage in your writing process, your goal is to get something, anything down on paper or your computer screen. For most writers, getting started is the hardest part of the job. Take advantage of a number of widely used strategies that can help you to develop, organize, and tailor the right information for your audience. Use any one of the following techniques alone or in combination. Clustering. In the middle of a sheet of paper, write down a word or phrase that best describes your topic, and then start writing other words or phrases that come to mind. Brainstorming. At the top of a sheet of paper or your computer screen, describe your topic in a word or phrase, and then list any information you know or found about the topic, in any order as quickly as you can. Outlining. This process may be the easiest and most comfortable way to begin or to continue planning a report or a letter. If you've planned carefully, it'll be easier to start your first draft. When you draft, you convert the words and phrases from your outline, brainstorm list, or clustered grouping into paragraphs. During drafting, as elsewhere in the writing process, you will see some overlap as you look back over your list or outline to shape your text. Don't expect to wind up with a polished, complete version of your written work after working only on one draft. In most cases, you'll have to work through many drafts, but each draft should be less rough and more focused than the preceding one. As you work on your drafts, ask yourself the following questions about your content and organization. Am I giving my readers too much or too little information? Do I need to do more research? Where and why? Should I confer further with my boss or coworkers? Does this point belong where I have it, or would it be more logically to put it somewhere else? Is this point necessary and relevant? Am I repeating or contradicting myself? Have I ended appropriately for my audience? To answer the question successfully, you may have to continue researching your topic and re-examining your audience needs. But in the process, you'll get even better ideas, and you'll use those ideas originally and essentially to build your best writing at work. Revision is an essential stage in the writing process. It requires more than giving your work another quick glance. Do not be tempted to skip the revision stage just because you've written the required number of words or sections, or because you think you've put too much time in already. Revision is done after you produce a draft that you think conveys the appropriate message to your audience. The quality of your memo, letter, or report depends on the revisions you make now. Editing is the equivalent of quality control for your reader. This last stage in the writing process might be compared to detailing an automobile, the preparation a dealer goes through and gets ready a new car for a prospective buyer. Editing is done only after you've completely satisfied that you've made all the big decisions about content, organization, and format that you said you wanted to, where you and how you wanted to, and for your audience. When you edit, you will check your work to make sure it's reasonable and correct. At this stage, pay close attention to sentences, word choices, punctuation, spelling, grammar and usage, and tone. Following this writing process will ensure the effectiveness of your business communication. Editing is done only after you're completely satisfied that you've made all the big decisions about content, organization, and format, that you have said what you wanted to, where and how you intended for your audience. When you edit, you will check your work to make sure it's reasonable and correct. At this stage, pay close attention to sentences, word choices, punctuation, spelling, grammar and usage, and tone. Here are 4 of the most frequent complaints readers voice about poorly editing writing in the world of work. The length. The sentences are too long. I could not follow the writer's ideas easily. The complexity. The sentences are too complex, making it hard to understand what the writer meant the first time I read the work. I had to reread it several times. Being unclear. The sentences are unclear. Even after I reread them, I still did not understand the writer's message. Too simplistic. The sentences are too short and simplistic. The writing felt dumbed down. Writing clear, readable sentences is not always easy. It takes effort, but the time you spend editing will pay off in rich dividends for you and your readers. The 7 guidelines that follow should help the editing phase of your work. Avoid needlessly complex or lengthy sentences. Do not pile on words on top of words. Instead, edit one overly long sentence into 2 or even 3 more manageable ones. Combine short, choppy sentences. Don't shorten long, complex sentences only to turn them into choppy, simplistic ones. Edit sentences to tell who does what to whom or what. Readers find this pattern easiest to understand because it provides direct and specific information about the action. Use strong, active verbs rather than verb phrases. In trying to sound important, many bureaucratic writers avoid using simple, graphic verbs. Instead, these writers use a weak verb phrase. For example, provide maintenance instead of maintain, work in cooperation instead of cooperate. Avoid putting modifiers in front of nouns. Putting too many modifiers, words used as adjectives, in the reader's path to the noun is confusing for readers, who will have trouble deciphering how one modifier relates to another modifier or to the noun. Replace wordy phrases or clauses with 1 or 2 word synonyms. Combine sentences beginning with the same subject or ending with an object that becomes the subject of the next sentence. Too many people in business think the more words the better. Nothing could be more self-defeating. Your readers are busy. Unnecessary words slow them down. Make every word count. Cut out any words you can from your sentences. If the sentence still makes sense and reads correctly, you've eliminated wordiness. Replace wordy phrases with precise ones. Use concise, not redundant phrases. Another kind of wordiness comes from using redundant expressions, saying the same thing a second time, only in different words. Watch for repetitious words, phrases, or clauses within a sentence. Sometimes one sentence or part of a sentence needlessly duplicates another. Avoid unnecessary prepositional phrases. Adding a prepositional phrase can sometimes contribute to redundancy. Be on the lookout for these phrases and delete them. Proofread the final version of your document, paying close attention to spelling, punctuation, formatting, and content.